Oh, season can't start off much better than that, right? Can't really ask for much more than this. As a Seahawks fan, you're feeling pretty good about things right now, right? How can you not? So, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I didn't watch any football today until just now. I just sat down watching the Bucks Cowboys game. I was at the Mariners game today. I didn't watch any of the early or afternoon games at all. Well, not really anyway. At least not in front of a TV going play to play. A little bit of highlight stuff, whatever you can do from your phone when you're in the stadium. But hey, Mariners game ended up being worth it, so I'm not sad about that at all. At all. But of course, I noticed that something kind of cool happened. The Seahawks seized control of the division and will hold it for at least 27 or something hours. Yeah, it's a fact. Look to my left. It's definitive. The Seahawks are on top of the division with a 0-0 record, which makes them by default better than all teams with a loss, and every other team in the division has a loss. And we're going to get to enjoy that for about a day. And then we're going to take on Denver tomorrow, and whatever happens there happens. I don't think it's going to end with us being on top of the division still. I think we're all going to be right there at the 0-1 if I had to guess. But it's nice. And this video isn't really just to like take solace in the fact that our division didn't play well this week, because I don't think it's going to mean anything for the Seahawks team. I still don't think we're going to be good. I still don't think we're going to go on any kind of run. I don't think we're going to be able to even take advantage of a softer division because we're in a kind of a state of flux right now as far as the team goes. But looking at what happened over the past few days, because of course I did get to watch the Rams game. I did get to watch the Rams game on Thursday, and I have a pretty good idea of what happened in the Cardinals and Niners games, even though I didn't get to fully watch them from talking to people who were watching them and following along on my phone. Is this division maybe actually going to be a little overrated? Is this division actually going the other way? Is it possible that the worm is turning? Unfortunately, it waited until after we traded our quarterback. But is it possible? First, before we even talk about the fact that we might not be able to take advantage of it, is it possible this division's going to be overrated this year? Or it's not going to be as good as we think, at least? If you look at the 3 games that happened these last several days, it seems like it's possible this division could be headed down. The Rams game, that's the game I watched. I watched pretty much every play, and you've got the Stafford stuff. That stuff is pretty obvious, right? The arm issue that he's having, there was the moment where he was coming off the field at the end and he mouthed, "I can't throw the ball," to his coach or whatever it was. It doesn't sound good, but it's not even really the elbow thing. If you look at Stafford's stats last year, he was really good in the first half of the season, and then he was meh over the second half. He was like elite that first half, but then the second half he was barely average. And then the first 2 playoff games he was elite again, and then the second 2 playoff games he was meh again. So even without the elbow injury, you look at a guy like Matt Stafford, and he's obviously gained a ton of credibility in NFL circles right now because he won 4 playoff games and won the Super Bowl. And people now think that because of that, he magically became a much better player in year, 12 of his career. But I think that realistically, we all know that that's not really what happened. What happened is that he just went to a much better team that was able to take advantage of him better. But he's not a different player than he was in Detroit. And there's evidence to believe that he is a good player, but maybe he's not a great player. He's getting older. He's got a lot of wear on that arm because he throws the ball so much when he was in Detroit. But beyond just the Stafford thing, whether or not age and injuries and wear and tear are catching up on Stafford, you look at that team, like their linebackers are not very good. That offensive line has taken a huge step back. They've got injuries on that offensive line now that are going to be a real problem going forward. It's they've got some real issues over there. Their cornerbacks on defense, linebackers, they are very top heavy over there in Los Angeles, and I think it's fair to say that even though a lot of people, myself included, thought they were going to go on a really deep run this year and they were still going to be one of the best teams because I felt like they managed to add on in key areas to what they had last year with guys like Allen Robinson and even Bobby Wagner. Maybe there's something going on over there in LA that isn't quite as great as we were thinking. It might be it might be a one and done for them, and of course it was still worth it because they won the Super Bowl. But going forward, that may not be the juggernaut that I was afraid of for the next several years. So it seems like they just have some real depth problems, and there's some areas of that team that are not good. Like Jalen Ramsey, what's up with that guy? That guy was kind of bad last year in the playoffs, and he was really bad against the Bills. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's certainly something. The 49ers, a lot of people kind of predicted this, but I wasn't expecting it to be so stark, especially with Shanahan over there. But Trey Lance, at this moment, not ready. Really, really not ready for this. And it makes sense why. It's not surprising. He's, 21 years old. There are people in college football right now who are several years older than him. He didn't play the last year of college football. He was in college football. He didn't really play because of COVID. Like, you look at Trey Lance and you see a guy with a ton of potential but no experience. So, despite the fact that that team, I do believe, is still really good in most areas. They've got a great defensive line. They've got a good linebacker core. I like their personnel on the offensive line. It's strong. Of course, you got to love the Shanahan offense and what they do when they got the football in terms of scheme, in terms of strategy. That Trey Lance thing, it's got to loom even larger than you thought as of right now, right? I mean, they lost to a team that figures to be in contention for the number one overall pick. They didn't just lose, by the way. I think they got outplayed as near as I can tell. Like, the Bears deserved to win that game. That game was not a fluke. That game did not come down to like this one big fluky play that completely flipped everything. No, the Bears deserved to win that game. The Bears were better. So the Niners, who I thought were going to be good this year, they probably will be by the end. But this Trey Lance thing, it really makes you feel like this Niners team should have given Trey Lance more burn last year to get him ready for a season like this. But they played him very little, and now they're kind of just stuck running him out there when he's not ready. And you can kind of see where this is going already, right? It's going to go to a place where Jimmy Garoppolo is pushed out there, and some Niners fans are going to hate it, some are going to love it, and he's going to be his same subpar self. And that can be adequate enough to win games with the Shanahan's offense. And you're going to see similar things to what we've seen over the last few years with them. They might get it together at the end. They might not. But, they may not be the team that a lot of people, myself included, were concerned about. Now, I will say this. I did expect the Niners to start out a little slow and then get better as the season went on. But I certainly didn't expect them to start out 0-1 against a team like the Bears. Like, I thought they had enough going on to at least win that game. So the fact that they have now lost that game, and that was one of their few supposed gimmies this year, could they be another team that ends up being overrated this season in the NFC West? And the Cardinals, I don't think anybody expected anything that differently, but it was a pretty obviously pathetic display by that offense. It was a pretty pathetic display by a defense that blitzed like crazy against Pat Mahomes. What are you doing? They blitzed Pat Mahomes, I saw over 60% of the time, and he destroyed the blitz. He destroyed the blitz, and they kept doing it. Again, I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but as near as I can tell, that's the long and short of what happened. So what's going on with the coaching over there? Who's the genius who thinks the way to beat Pat Mahomes, or at least slow him down, is to blitz a lot? And the thing with all these teams, And with the Cardinals, it's not unexpected. A lot of people thought they weren't going to be that good, myself included. A lot of people thought they were probably going to get killed by Kansas City anyway because it's Kansas City and they're Kansas City. These teams are really locked into what they got. These teams, maybe not the 49ers as much, but a team like the Rams, there's not really a whole heck of a lot that they can do to turn this around. I mean, they've already traded so many of their assets to bring in guys like Stafford, guys like Von Miller, who is now not even there. There's only so much they can do with the contract extensions they've given Cooper Kupp and now Matt Stafford and Aaron Donald. There's not a lot of money left over to even try to bring in more pieces to help. They might be given what's the name? Whitworth a call, see if they can pull him out of retirement. But if they can't do that, good luck trying to find somebody to fix that offensive line because it's really bad right now. The Cardinals, they've locked themselves into Kyler Murray. They have married themselves to a quarterback who has been very, very inconsistent in his career. And if this ends up going south, there's not a whole lot they can do to get off of it for several years. And they just extended Kingsbury. So they can't really get off this coach for a while unless they want to eat the money. So this isn't about this year. This isn't about me thinking, the Seahawks can sneak to the division title with 10 wins because the division's going to be so bad. What I'm saying is if these teams keep this up throughout this season, we might be looking at a scenario where the Seahawks are going to be able to go into next year and future years and rule over a weaker division if they hit these picks, if they hit these player developments. And that is where this becomes really intriguing as a Seahawks fan, right? You've seen the holes with these three teams now. Are they going to fester into a bigger hole as the season goes on? Time will tell. But that's the interesting takeaway for me watching, or not watching, but following the games this week. Seems like there's something here, right? Like it's not the gauntlet of death that it looked like it was going to be in the preseason and what it kind of was last year, right? Last year we had 3 playoff teams, 2 teams in the NFC title game, and 1 team won the Super Bowl. It was the best division in football. And now these 3 teams, not only have they started 0-3, and we may very well make it 0-4 tomorrow, I'm just being real, but they show you some very clear and obvious holes. They have very, very clear problems. And those problems may not be going away. And there's not necessarily a ton they can do to fix those problems. Maybe the Niners could. They could force themselves off of Trey Lance if he proves that he can't be the guy. But they're not going to give up on him now. They're going to have to ride it out with him for a little while, see what he does, and probably not move off of him until his rookie contract's about to expire because they gave up so much to get him, and he's so young, it's a bad practice to move off a player that quickly when they're that young. So if those 3 teams have married themselves to losing propositions, and take the Rams out of that equation a little bit because they won last year, whatever happens now, it's still a success story. But if they have married themselves to Matt Stafford just before he ends up getting on the other side of over the hill, if they end up marrying themselves to Aaron Donald as he's falling off, marrying themselves to Jalen Ramsey when he's about to turn into a mediocre at best corner, if those things happen, there's going to be a window probably because you can't just cut all these players and go sign new ones and expect it to work out. So here's hoping, guys, not about this year, but about years to come. If the Seahawks can nail this rebuild, which I think they're off to a pretty good start, and if they can see these holes that we see develop in these division rivals turn into craters, then there's an opportunity to feast the way New England feasted on a terrible AFC East for years. All I can say on top of that is Wilson really likes being in the toughest division in football, I guess, because we were the toughest division in football constantly when he was here, and now he's off to the new best division in football. You saw what the Chiefs and Chargers did today. Raiders looked pretty good too, losing. And you're like, yeah, he traded one West for another West, and he went from a division that was really, really good to a division that might be just as good this year, while his old division does this. All right, I'm going to go watch this Dallas-Tampa Bay game. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Not streaming on YouTube tonight. Might be on Twitch. Hope to see you there.